I am so glad that you're here. For me, it is morning, so I will say good morning, but whenever you're watching this, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Just a little nod to the Truman Show. So I want to start off by asking you a question. Have you ever seen a mustard seed? I think for most of us, we have seen like in a piece of jewelry or in a photo, at least some like sketch or something. Even if you haven't seen a mustard seed in real life, you have seen the image of a mustard seed. And they are super, super tiny, right? So they are about 1/16 of an inch. That is incredible. So let's see, Matthew 17:20. I'm going to read that for you real quick. If I can find it real quick. And it says, he replied, "Because you have so little faith, truly I tell you, if you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can say to this mountain, 'Move from here to there,' and it will move. Nothing will be impossible for you." That is an incredible verse. Like, it's incredible. I feel like it's one that we've heard on some level. It's like all you have to have is the faith of a mustard seed. But here is the coolest thing about a mustard seed is that, like I said before, it's 1/16 of an inch. However, the plant that grows from that seed can grow to be 20 to 30 feet tall with branches that are 20 feet in circumference. It's a massive plant from this itty bitty teeny seed. It's incredible. And that's what our faith can do. If we have faith the size of a mustard seed, just super small faith, what God can do with that small amount of faith is just massive. It is world changing. We can change the world with the faith that we have if we just trust God. I am so glad you're here. My name is Kelly. If you are new here, I am just an ordinary woman who loves God and wants to spread the love that He has with as many people as possible for as long as I possibly can. There's nothing special about me. I do not have any seminary degrees. I've never been to Bible college. I am a respiratory therapist. I'm a mom. I'm a wife. And that's it. I just love God. So I'm so glad that you're here. I hope that you get something out of it. And if there is something that you can add to this topic, please leave it in the comments, because I am a firm believer that God can speak to you through the Bible in a way that He does not speak to me, and we can learn from each other. Okay, so I want to take a look at faith for a second. And I think the best place to do that is Hebrews 11. It's the Hall of Faith. I want to look at Hebrews 11, verse 1, so we can kind of get a definition of what faith is. And it says, "Now faith is confidence in what we hope for, and assurance about what we do not see." So basically, faith is believing in something that we can't see. It's trusting God even though we can't physically see Him. It's taking that next right step when we can't see the full picture. Faith is trusting and believing in God even when we have no idea what the next step actually is. And that can be nerve-wracking sometimes. It really can. But that is part of growing in your relationship with God and learning to lean on Him and let Him guide you step by step, so you don't have to see all of that stuff, because you know that He's not going to fail you. So what I want to talk about today, I really struggled about like a way to present it and like 3 points this, and I think I just want to look at Daniel 3, and I want to read through it and talk through it and just see how that goes. I have never done anything like this before. I'm a little nervous to read the Bible for you guys, but we're going to do it. We are going to do it. So before we get started, in Daniel chapter 2, King Nebuchadnezzar has had a dream and he doesn't understand what it is. And Daniel, by the grace of God, is able to interpret what this dream is. And because Daniel does this, he finds favor with the king. And so the king promotes him and his friends to positions of power. And his friends are Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And so here we are in chapter 3. We're going to pick up there. All right. So starting in verse 1. King Nebuchadnezzar made an image of gold 60 cubits high and 6 cubits wide, and set it up on the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. He then summoned the satraps, prefects, governors, advisors, treasurers, judges, magistrates, and all other provincial officials to come to the dedication of the image he had set up. So the satraps, prefects, governors, advisors, treasurers, judges, magistrates, and all other provincial officials assembled for the dedication of the image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up, and they stood before it. So King Nebuchadnezzar has created this statue. He has had this statue built. All right, so then the herald loudly proclaimed, "Nations and people of every language, this is what you are commanded to do. As soon as you hear the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipe, and all kinds of music, you must fall down and worship the image of gold that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. Whoever does not fall down and worship will immediately be thrown into a blazing furnace." All right, so we have this statue created by the king, and we have the instruction saying that when you hear the music, you are going to bow down or you are going to die. All right, so I'm picking up at verse 7. Therefore, as soon as they heard the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, and all kinds of music, all the nations and people of every language fell down and worshiped the image of gold that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. At this time, some astrologers came forward and denounced the Jews. They said to King Nebuchadnezzar, "May the king live forever. Your Majesty has issued a decree that everyone who hears the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipe, and all kinds of music must fall down and worship the image of gold, and whoever does not fall down and worship will be thrown into a blazing furnace. But there are some Jews whom you have set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who pay no attention to you, your Majesty. They neither serve your gods nor worship the image of gold you have set up." So we have these Jewish men who worship God. And we know that when we worship God and we commit our lives to Him, we are to have no other gods before Him. We can't worship other gods and worship the one true God. It is just not possible. So when they made this law that you had to bow down, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego didn't do it. It doesn't say that they petitioned other people not to do it. It doesn't say that they made a big deal about it. They didn't have like riots or marches or anything like that. They simply worshiped God and did not bow down to this statue. All right, verse 13. Furious with rage, Nebuchadnezzar summoned Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So these men were brought before the king, and Nebuchadnezzar said to them, "Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods or worship the image of gold I have set up? Now, when you hear the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipe, and all kinds of music, if you are ready to fall down and worship the image I made, very good. But if you do not worship it, you will be thrown immediately into a blazing furnace. Then what God will be able to rescue you from my hand?" All right, so basically the king is saying, I'm giving you one last chance. I'm going to play this music again. I'm giving you a chance. Bow down or you're going to have to die. Let's see what they do. Verse 16. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied to him, "King Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you in this matter. I just want to stop right there real quick. And this is mentioned in the New Testament as well. We do not need to worry about defending ourselves. If we are standing for God, if we are standing strong for Him, the Holy Spirit will give us the words when it's time for us to speak, if we even need to speak at all. But we definitely do not need to defend ourselves because God will defend us. Okay, verse 17. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to deliver us from it, and He will deliver us from your majesty's hand. But even if He does not, we want you to know, your majesty, that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold that you have set up. Then Nebuchadnezzar was furious with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and his attitude towards them changed. He ordered the furnace heated 7 times hotter than usual, and commanded some of the strongest soldiers in his army to tie up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and throw them into the blazing furnace. So these men, wearing their robes, trousers, turbans, and other clothes, were bound and thrown into the blazing furnace. The king's command was so urgent and the furnace was so hot that the flames of the fire killed the soldiers who took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And these 3 men, firmly tied, fell into the blazing furnace. This is what I love about this story, is that they stood before the king and they said, we know that God is who He says He is, and He can do what He says He can do. Do you believe that God is who He says He is? Because I believe that. Do you believe that He can do what He says He can do? That is a big question. And if you are wrestling with that, I really urge you to get in the Word, get in prayer, do some fasting, and seek God so that you can figure out where you stand on that matter. And it says, He is able to deliver us from your mighty hand. So they know that He can do that. But here's the kicker. Even if He does not. So this is a question that I challenge you to answer to see where you stand. Even if God does not answer your prayer the way that you think that He should answer your prayer, even if He does not deliver you from the situation that you want Him to deliver you from, is He still good? And is He still your God? That is such a massive question. All right, let's keep going. So where we are right now is these men have been thrown into the blazing furnace, and the men who threw them in are dead because the fire was so hot. It says, then King Nebuchadnezzar leaped to his feet in amazement and asked his advisors, weren't there 3 men that we tied up and threw into the fire? They replied, certainly, your majesty. He said, look, I see 4 men walking around in the fire, unbound and unharmed, and the 4th looks like the son of the gods. Talking about Jesus here. Nebuchadnezzar then approached the opening of the blazing furnace and shouted, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out, come here. So what got the king's attention was that these men were singing and they were dancing in this fiery furnace. And when they look in, there's not 3 men, but 4, because Jesus is in the fire with them. So there are going to be times in your life that God does not answer your prayers the way that you think that He should. There are going to be times that you have to go through something and God's not going to deliver you from that. But from evidence of this story, He's not going to have you walk through it alone. He did not keep Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego from the fire, but He did not send them in there by themselves. He was in the flames. He was surrounded. He was in the thick of it with them, and He gave them joy in the midst of their punishment. So Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego came out of the fire, and the satraps, prefects, governors, and royal advisors crowded around them. They saw that the fire had not harmed their bodies nor was a hair of their head singed. Their robes were not scorched, and there was no smell of fire on them. Guys, the fact that there was no smell of fire on them, their clothes were not touched, like, it demonstrates the complete protection, the complete deliverance. They might have been in the fire, but it could not touch them. They did not even smell like smoke. I mean, we can be out at a bonfire and come home and smell like smoke, and it's in your hair, and the whole family's got a shower. Like, they were in the middle of this punishment. They were in the middle of whatever trial that you're having to face, that you're going through, and they came out on the other side, not only alive, but not even smelling like they had been in it. So verse 28, then Nebuchadnezzar said, praise be to the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and rescued his servants. They trusted in him and defied the king's commands, and were willing to give up their lives rather than serve or worship any gods except their own God. Could you do that? Are you in a place right now where you are willing to do that? If it came down to it, are you willing to die for what you believe in? Are you so firm in what you believe in that you are willing to just give up your life because it means that much to you? That's a huge question. Verse 29, therefore I decree that the people of any nation or language who say anything against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego be cut into pieces, and their houses be turned into piles of rubble, for no other God can save in this way. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon. So they defied the king, continued to honor God with their actions. They went through the trials of the fire, and when they came out on the other side, the king noticed how good their God was. Sometimes the trials in our life are meant to be an example to other people to honor God. Sometimes the trials in our lives are there strictly so that we have the opportunity to be obedient to God, so that other people can see our obedience and it can bring glory to him. I love the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. I love that it brings out the question of, do you believe God is who he says he is? He can do what he says he can do. If he doesn't do what you want him to do you still think he's good? Do you trust him to walk through the fire with you? Would you give up your life for him? This entire story just causes us to have to take deep reflection on ourselves to see where we stand and where our minds and our hearts truly are when it comes to our relationship with God. So I really encourage you to get in the word, read it for yourself, pray over it before you read it, ask God to reveal his character to you in this so that you can become closer to him, because this is a really incredible story of faith and what it looks like when your faith is lived out and how you can come out on the other side not even smelling like the fire you just walked through. If you are struggling with your faith, I know that sometimes all you have is the faith of a mustard seed. It is just the smallest amount of faith. I encourage you to talk to God about it. And yes, he already knows that you are struggling and that you need his help. He just wants you to come to him. And I like to think of it as like a parent-child relationship where I know when my kids need something, but sometimes I'm just waiting on them to come to me and say the words themselves because I want them to initiate that conversation. The same thing is true with God. He knows we need him. He is omniscient. He knows everything. He's omniscient, omnipotent. He's everywhere. He knows everything. He is not surprised by anything that we say to him, but he wants us to trust him. He wants us to come to him, and he wants us to have that security in him. So if you're struggling, just ask him. Also, if you have any prayer requests or if you want to know more about giving your life to Jesus, I would love to pray for you and help you in that process. Just leave a comment or follow the prayer request link that's in the description box. It sends me a direct message and I will be more than happy to follow up with you and pray with you. I post new videos every Wednesday, so if you want to see more content in between then, you can find me on all the socials. You can find those links in the description box as well. And make sure you check out all the videos that are popping up on your screen right now. They are specifically chosen for you by the YouTube algorithm. I'll see you guys soon.